All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64. I've been making videos for 5 or 6 years now. I started my YouTube channel mainly because I had finally found the head of the year after all these years of studying and trying to figure it out. I finally found it, and that's March 17th. Now, out of all these years of making these videos, I've never not wanted to make a video. I've been looking forward to coming out here and making videos. This video, however, is different. This video is for those who are very studious in their Bibles. This video, I'm going to rip a Band-Aid off. I'm going to do it really slow, though. I know they say rip it off really quick and get it over with. I'm not going to do it that way because I'm going to try to walk everyone through this. Last night, I'm talking with Brett from God's Land Down Under. We are discussing Philip Barnett's interview on Departure Heaven with Rick, and Bob is there. And also, is it Minister for Christ? I believe that's his YouTube. There was four of them on there. And Mr. Barnett says that he was told by God that the rapture cannot happen until after his 25th wedding anniversary, which I believe, if I recall, was November the 25th of 2025. That, if that is from God himself, then we won't see a rapture until November, until after November 25th, which I go back to the previous person that said that they saw Jesus, and he told them, I told him that on September the 23rd, 24th, that we would see a rapture. Now, I don't disbelieve either of them, actually. I don't disbelieve either of them because what happened when Joshua came out with his date is a massive, massive revival. People who we had never seen before become interested. Our channels grew. A lot of people were coming in to try to, they were Googling, Joshua, and anybody that had the name Joshua in their title. They were coming in and they were subscribing because they wanted to learn more. We haven't seen this. This is massive that we're seeing happen right now. But the date passed. Do I think Joshua is a liar? And I do not. I still believe that Joshua heard something, and I believe Philip Barnett heard something. I just believe that the rapture day is delaying. The Bible tells us it will tarry. Though it tarry, wait for it, it will surely come. I think what Philip Barnett is seeing is the completion. We all, and I used to be guilty of this until I recognized how important the tribulation saints were and how massive that group of people is and how much the Bible is geared towards them. A lot of the Bible is geared towards the tribulation saint, and how we are so dismissive of them and treat them as though they failed. And while they have failed, they have not. They have the identical, in every way, opportunity to accept Christ during the tribulation that we did before the tribulation. We are simply those that believed without seeing. They are those that will believe after seeing. Currently, they say the world goes on as it always has. Who knows when the rapture is? It'll happen when it happens. I'm not interested in watching. The day is going to come, and yeah, I'll be there when it happens. They are the doubting Thomases. Did God love Thomas any less than anyone else, though Thomas had to see to believe. Likewise, the two apostles that ran to the tomb after Mary said he had risen, they didn't believe her. They did not believe her. And they ran to the tomb and found the fact that it was in fact empty. So this video here I'm making, I started the discussion on this video with Brett from God's Land Down Under because he's from down under. He's from Australia, and my nighttime is his daytime, and his daytime is my nighttime. I believe he's 14 hours ahead of me, not 100% sure. Right now it is 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time while I'm beginning to make this video. So that would tell me it's 9 a.m. in Australia, if I'm accurate. Maybe 8 a.m. I'm not 100% sure. But I know this, that last night we began discussing this, and I think we discussed it pretty much up till midnight. And I just fell asleep. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, and Brett had sent me a few audios and some more information on what this information that I really don't want to talk about. I really don't, because and the only reason I do is because it gives a rapture date, and it's not very far away. And then I went back to sleep at 5 in the morning, I think it was. And then when I wake up, he's got a bunch more stuff in there. And I'm telling him, I don't know how to make this video. I really don't know. Telling you that more than just the dead in Christ will rise, a lot more on that day, the rapture day, is was a lot easier than this is to tell you. When we discussed what was going, I also listened today to Worship and Watch, a friend of mine from Will from Worship and Watch, and he began talking about the mirror that takes place because of Exodus 12. One thing that catches me off guard or makes me concerned for somebody who's teaching the Bible is when they say Rosh Hashanah is in September. When they say Rosh Hashanah and the Feast of Trumpets are the same event, and they simply aren't. Exodus 12, it was super clear. God changed the head of the year, and while he used the same date for trumpets, trumpets and Rosh Hashanah are not the same. And yet we still follow it. I don't, but many still will call it Rosh Hashanah. And when I hear a preacher say it's Rosh Hashanah, I begin to become concerned for them, because they are not timeline savvy. They are not understanding why it was so important to move Rosh Hashanah to the head of the year. And when that happened, one could say, and this is what Will touched on a little bit, one could say that on the 18th, on Nisan 18, Sunday morning, Jesus rose. But 6 months out to the very day is October the 3rd. Exactly. This feast that Jesus went to, that's what I want to discuss. That's the hard part. This feast that Jesus went to was not Hanukkah. It wasn't. It was the Feast of Tabernacles. And Jesus went during the middle of the feast. Pastor Kevin spoke to him. Jimmy, I apologize for that. Names elude me, but Kevin spoke to Pastor Jimmy about what I think I had found. And Pastor Jimmy said, yes, while they did in fact celebrate a 7-day dedication to the temple and a 7-day feast, and on the 8th day of that 7-day feast, Solomon sent everybody home merry and happy. They did not do that again, ever. But I think they did. I think they did it again. I think they did it again in 26 AD. It took them 46 years. Now, they did not build the temple in between 20 BC and 26 AD. They refurbished it. They made it glorious. They made it glamorous. They made it a lot better. They actually began rebuilding it 50 years after it was destroyed the first time. And I'll show that all to you here. I thought that they are a little confused on when they had built the second temple. They built the second temple in, I think it was 516 BC. Again, I have the pictures. We'll discuss that in a moment. And from the first foundations on Kislev 24, from when the first foundation was laid, how long does it take to lay a foundation? Did they begin laying that foundation on Tabernacles? And 2 months later, complete that foundation on Kislev 24. And that's where I get into this part of the Bible where I want to discuss with you that it was not Hanukkah that Jesus went down to. The Feast of Dedication is not Hanukkah. And that's the part I want to discuss. Hanukkah, from the best I can tell, is a holiday that the Jews came up with based on a candle or a candle that had oil in it that stayed lit for 8 days, and they only had 1 day's worth of oil in it, and it was miraculous. I thought, and that was miraculous, and that would have been, I'm not sure what year that would have happened, where that concept of Hanukkah began. I really am not sure where it began. I couldn't find it anywhere, but it has been brought to us by the Pharisees and the Sadducees. You'll recall the temple from Jesus' crucifixion in 30 AD for the next 40 years, exactly 40 years to 70 AD. That's why he was crucified in 30 AD. And King Herod killed all those babies 2 years and younger. He put the order out, and he died in 4 BC. That's why Jesus was born in 4. Now we call it 4 BC, but because of that 0 year, it's 3 BC, but 4 BC. And that's why they were looking to kill all those babies. Now, all that being said, I'm going to take you to the pictures and go through this and see if you come to the same conclusion that I do. All right. Wait for this bar to get up out of my way. All right, it's not going up. There it goes. It's going up. All right. Pictures. We will begin here. I'm going to walk you through this. And the only reason I'm doing this is because it gives a rapture date. It also gives the time Jesus began his ministry. There was a comment made that Jesus said that he will destroy this temple in 3 days. He'll raise it back up. He was talking about himself, but the temple was actually destroyed 40 years later. And the comment was made, these 46 years that this temple is being built, and you're going to destroy it and build it back up in 3 days. The temple was not built in 20 BC to 46 AD. It was refurbished. It was made better. It had been standing since, I think it was 316 or 5. I'll get to that picture in a moment. This temple, from when the foundation was finished, it was finished on Kislev 24 in the year 20 BC. And the completion of this temple and its beautification of a temple that was already standing happened in 26 AD. 26 AD is when Jesus began his ministry. That is the year he said this. That is the year he began his ministry. Now, this is why everyone thinks that Hanukkah falls on not why it falls on Kislev 25. That's not why, but because of this comment in John 2:20. Says the temple has been in continuous state. Oh, not we're not there yet. This is just more information on the reconstruction or the finishing of the temple. According to John 2:20, the temple had been in continuous state of construction for 46 years, which implies that its construction began in 20 BC, 19 because of the 0 year, under Herod the Great, and was ongoing the time of Jesus' ministry. Herod started the ambitious project and to renovate and expand the second temple, which was the original temple built by Zerubbabel after the Babylonian exile. Okay. To show you, the temple was actually built earlier than this. Haggai 2 talks about the second temple, then under construction, but the prophecy that its latter glory would be greater than the first temple is interpreted by many as pointing to the arrival of Messiah and his presence, rather than any physical architectural achievement of the second temple itself. The prophet's words were meant to encourage the discouraged builders of Zerubbabel's temple, whose work seemed modest compared to Solomon's first temple. In other words, they rebuilt the temple, but their hearts weren't in it. By promising a future greater glory through the coming of the Messiah. So, that first temple was built and it wasn't glorious, but there was an order done in 20 BC to build it. These earthquakes are going off quite a bit as of late. Quite a bit. The earthquakes are upticking. All right. Now, let's keep going. I want to walk you through this to see if you come to the same conclusion that I have. The second temple, now here's where it was completed. It wasn't pretty. It was just put together. The second temple was completed around 516 BC by Jewish exiles who had returned to Jerusalem from Babylonian captivity following a decree from the Persian king Cyrus the Great. The completion is a major event marking the beginning of the Second Temple period. And the temple served as the center of Jewish worship until its destruction in 70 AD. So this Second Temple was completed 516 BC. And it stood and became, and they modified it, they made it better in 20 BC to 26 AD. Again, 26 AD is when Jesus began his ministry. And then it was finally destroyed 40 years after Jesus went to the cross in 30 AD. Okay. Yes, Solomon's temple, the first Jewish temple in Jerusalem, was destroyed by the Babylonians in 587 BC. You see where it says in what does that say? 516, 587, 70 years. 70 years between the destruction of Solomon's temple and it's being rebuilt in 516 BC, 70 years, by King Cyrus. But this second temple was later destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. So this temple stood from 516 BC to 70 AD. But it was modified or made better in 20 BC to 26 AD. Following me so far, I hope. All right, here's where we get into this thing we call Hanukkah. Hanukkah now is the 25th day of the 9th month, the 25th day of Tevet. Let me make sure of that before I speak out of turn, because everybody knows I'll do that. Kislev. It was Kislev, sorry. The 25th day of Kislev is Hanukkah, but I can't find it anywhere in the Bible. Nowhere. Maybe somebody can put a passage in the comment section showing me in the Bible where it says Hanukkah is on Kislev 25. All I can find is in the 24th day of the 9th month, in the 2nd year of Darius, came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, ask now the priests concerning the law, saying, if one bear holy flesh, and this is where it's talking about, even if you touch something unclean, it now is unclean. Can you put some unclean thing into a clean thing? No, it has to be transformed, clean and clean. New wine into new wineskins. You can't put new wine into old wineskins. You can't put old wine into new wineskins. Then answered Haggai and said, so is this people, and so is this nation before me, saith the Lord, and so is every work of their hands. The Jews will always work towards being better for God, and so will the tribulation saints. The ones who will do no work are those who don't believe whatsoever. They won't do any work at all. Still in Haggai, Haggai 2. I smote you with blasting. This is God speaking to the Jewish people. I smote you with blasting, and with mildew, and with hail, in all the labors of your hands. Yet ye turn not to me. God will do this similar thing to the tribulation saints. They don't believe. The world goes on as it is. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I eat dinner, I go to sleep, I have my weekends off, I go boating, I go sailing, I go doing, Disney World, I go do all these things. Nothing ever is going to change, but something is about to change. Something very dramatic is about to happen, and it is going to wake up a great multitude that no man can count. There is a group of people that we discount like they're nobodies. And that's simply not true. It's a great multitude that no man can count. They are your family. They are your mothers and your fathers and brothers and sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles. They are your best friends. They don't believe. But when they heard you say that this event is going to take place, and then it does, they will not believe the lie. They are going to know exactly what happened because you did your job. You told them, and that's what we are to do. Yet ye turn not to me, saith the Lord. Consider now from this day and upward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, even from the day that the foundations of the Lord's temple was laid. Consider it. Is the seed yet in the barn? Yea, the seed is in the barn. What's the seed? The seed is the barley and the wheat. The seed is the bride that goes in the rapture, and the wheat that is gathered, the great multitude, the tribulation saints. The seed is in the barn. Here's the question. The answer is yes. As yet, but what's not in the barn? As yet, the vine, which is the wine, the fig tree, and the pomegranate, and the olive tree, hath not brought forth. From this day I will bless you. God is going to protect the Jews during those 7 years, but he's going to protect them. The safest place to be on planet Earth during the tribulation is in Israel. If you don't believe anything and will refuse to accept the Lord, at the very least, buy a plane ticket and go to Israel. You'll be safe there. When do we see that both the seed is in the barn? All the seed. It's the only one that's a seed. The rest of these grow on trees and bushes. The only one that is planted, grows, and harvested and destroyed, not destroyed, but has to be replanted again, is the seed of both wheat and barley, the two loaves. I hope you can see that. By the laying of the foundations of the Lord, which was laid in the 24th day of the 9th month, which is Kislev 24, by Kislev 24, both of them will be in the barn. The seed. It's talking about the seed. It's not talking about the vine, the fig tree, the pomegranate, the olive tree. They have not brought forth from this day. This is the Jew. The seed is both the bride, the raptured bride, and the gathered tribulation saint. And it will be complete in what year, I don't know. But it will be complete by the 24th day of the 9th month. I show that as December the 8th. I call December the 8th Hanukkah because I was told that the Feast of Dedication was Hanukkah. And I'm going to show you that the Feast of Dedication is not Hanukkah. Hanukkah is not called the Feast of Dedication. Hanukkah is something else by itself, and it appears the day after the 24th day of the 9th month, the day after the foundations of the Lord's temple was laid. We are the foundation of the Lord's temple. Jesus is the cornerstone. We are the foundation, the seed, both the barley and the wheat. Both of them are in the barn. It almost appears to me as though, and I've said this for years, I don't see why a tribulation saint will spend years here. It won't take them but a moment to kneel down and accept the Lord. Who is a tribulation saint? They are those who have works. They are those who didn't believe in anything, but they heard you say, if you see me go. They will know what happened, and they will drop straight to their knees and accept the Lord and his cup of salvation. The word Hanukkah itself isn't found in the Old Testament, but the event it commemorates, the rededication of the temple, is described in the book of Maccabees. Now, Brett from God's Down Under went in and read the book of Maccabees. It too does not call it Hanukkah, and it too does not give it a date of Kislev 25. It calls it the Feast of Dedication. Many will attribute John 22 to Hanukkah, but I'm here to tell you that John 10:22 is talking about Solomon's Feast of Dedication, which occurred on September the 23rd, the day that Joshua said that the rapture was going to occur. And 7 days later, after the Feast of Dedication, now it's called the Feast of Dedication or the celebration of dedication for the temple, and then they celebrated for 7 days Tabernacles. And on the great 8th day, remember, Jesus was born on Tabernacles. I'm still getting comments. He was born in the spring because it's a lambing season. He was here for 33 and a half years. What math are you using to bring his birth to March or April or whatever you're doing? Sometimes I don't even want to comment or respond to comments like that. You've done zero math. Somebody somewhere said, lambing season, nothing biblical whatsoever, just lambing season. It's ridiculous. Jesus was born on Tabernacles. There is nothing. Look, Jesus was not born on the same day he created Satan. He created Satan at that time, called Lucifer, an angel of light. That's the light that was created. The angels and Lucifer were created on the first day of creation. Satan became insanely jealous by the 6th day of creation when God created man in his image. Read Genesis again. Go read it. All creation began on the first day of creation. It doesn't say that things were created millions of years before or he's done this before. It doesn't say that. It says abundantly clear that creation began on the first day of creation. That's where it all began. And that light you're seeing is not the sun. It's not the stars. It's Lucifer. He is the bright and morning star. Lucifer was glorious. Jesus was not sharing a birthday with Lucifer. He was not born on September the 11th. Likewise, he was not born on September 15th, which is Tishri 1. He was not born on September the 15th. September the 15th is when Jesus made all the birds and fishes. September the 16th is when he created Adam. Tishri 2, that's the date he created Adam. No, Jesus could not have been born on those because there had to be an event 8 days later. It's simple. If he was born on the first day of creation, the seventh day God rested. There's nothing on the eighth day. If he was born on atonement, then 5 days later is tabernacles. 3 days into tabernacles is what? There is nothing. There's nothing. No, Jesus had to be born on tabernacles. It's his birthday. He decides on his birthday not to go to this festival, but halfway through the festival of tabernacles, he shows up at the temple. He says, I'm not going to this festival. And then he shows up halfway through. What does that mirror? What does it mirror? Why doesn't Jesus go to this festival when it began on, I'll have to look at the timeline, when it began on, why am I not remembering? Well, it began on Tabernacles. So it began on Tishri 15, on September the 30th. That's today. Happy birthday, Jesus. Why did he not go to the temple on this day? Because on March 30th, he was dead. This is a mirror, an exact mirror. On Tishri 15, it matches Nisan 15. Nisan 15 is when, just prior to Nisan 15, on the 14th, he died on the cross. On the 15th, 16th, 17th, he was in the tomb. And on the 18th, a Sunday, he rose. If I match up 15, 16, 17, and on the 18th, he rose on October the 3rd. He rose on Nisan 18. He rose on Tishri 18. It's Exodus 12. That's why God did that. It's a mirror. It's exactly 180 days out, 182 days out. Exactly. Jesus did not go to the festival of Hanukkah. He went to the festival of the dedication. Why? Because it took them 46 years to build this temple. And the year 26 AD, they simply copied what Solomon had done. And on September the 23rd, they went to dedicate it. And then after 7 days, they began the festival of tabernacles. So when we see in John 22, as the festival of dedication, which is another name for Hanukkah, it simply isn't. It simply is not. And I'll show you. I've showed this to you in the last video. The festival of dedication was brought out by King Solomon, and it began on September the 23rd, 24th. It ran for 7 days, just like exactly when Joshua said the rapture was going to occur. It ran for 7 days. And then after 7 days, in the mirror idea, Jesus died on the cross. And then 3.5 days later, 84 hours after that, Jesus rises, and he rises on October the 3rd, 182 days out, and we can go back, and he rose on, what was it? Hold on a second. I'm getting the numbers. April 18th. Yeah, April 18th. He rises on April 18th. And mirror is October the 3rd. Now, hold on a second. He did not. Yeah, he walks 37 days. Hold on. I'm making a mistake. I'm making a mistake. Nisan 18 is when he rose, and it was April the 3rd. I apologize. I was off by 15 days there. Jesus rises on April the 3rd. It says Sunday, Nisan 18, and its mirror date, 183rd day, will be October the 3rd. Hold on, let me find it. Make sure that I'm accurate. Yes, Tishri 18, exactly, will be October the 3rd. All right. This is not, the festival of dedication is not Hanukkah. Hanukkah appears in December. This John 10:22 is not talking about Hanukkah. Remember, I just said, why didn't Jesus go down at the beginning of the feast? Why did he say, I'm not even going to go? But then he appears in the middle of the feast. Now, about the midst of the feast, Jesus went up into the temple and taught. I'm not going down there because they're looking to kill me. I'm just going to stay. I'm going to hold back, guys. You guys go. Jesus is seeing exactly from this moment, 3.5 years later, when he goes to the cross and when he goes down there, is the moment he rises. Remember, the midst of the Feast of Tabernacles, not the midst of the Feast of Hanukkah. In the midst of the Feast of Tabernacles, it matches October the 3rd to when he rose. And I said, I did it again. Hold on. Tishri, let me find it. October the 3rd. Tishri 18, cross-referencing 6 months out, mirror to Nisan 18, the day he rises. That's why he went down here on this day. All right. The unbelief of the Jews. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter. We've said this 1,000 times. When is winter? There are 2 seasons in Israel. There is summer and there is winter. Spring is a part of summer and fall is a part of winter. When does winter begin? It begins for them on September the 21st. Is it a solstice? I don't recall exactly what happens on September the 21st, but September the 21st. On my timeline, it's September the 16th. That's when, or is it September the 15th? Hold on, let me look. September the 15th. Yeah, that Tishri 1, Feast of Trumpets. That's when it begins on my timeline. But that's neither here nor there. The 21st will take it because that means that it was winter. People use this verse to say that I've been guilty of this forever. Last night, I like I said, I'm so tired right now, I can barely think straight. I was up until I think Brett and I talked, texting and back and forth until almost midnight, I believe it was. And I told him, I says, I don't know why, I don't understand why I have to figure something like this out now. Like this late in the game, why are we figuring something like this out now? What's the point? Because a very small portion of you are going to understand this, and another small portion, well, a very large portion, you aren't going to buy into any of it. Oh, Hanukkah's the Feast of Dedication. There's no changing your mind. I don't even understand why I found all this and studied all this. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up and I'm texting him again. I think it was until 5. And then I got up at, I think, 6:30 to go to work. And I'm texting him on my way to work. And then, of course, Brett has to sleep. So he's been asleep all day long. Guy's lazy. I don't know why he sleeps in the day like that. It was his nighttime. Just kidding, Brett. All right. So, Feast of Dedication. I'm telling you, this is not Hanukkah. It says right there, Solomon's porch. What did Solomon do? Solomon celebrated on Tabernacles. Solomon did not celebrate on Solomon did not celebrate on Hanukkah. Hanukkah is something, I don't even know what it is. It's something completely different. It has nothing to do with they rededicated this temple on the same day Solomon completed the temple way back when. Way back when Solomon celebrated on Tabernacles, 7 days prior and 8 days after, they did it again. On this 26 AD, the year Jesus began his ministry in 26 AD, 26 and a half because it's September. It is September when September the 23rd when He dedicates, and September the, let me see, it's September the 24th when he dedicates, and September the 30th, Jesus's birthday, when the Feast of Tabernacles begins. And I'm going to show that to you. I did not want to make this video. I did not want to do this here, but here we are. Feast of Dedication, Ezra 6. As it is written in the book of Moses, and all the children of Israel and the priests and the Levites and the rest of the children of the captivity kept the dedication of this house of God with joy, and offered at the dedication of this house of God. And it tells what they offered: sin offering according to the number of the tribes of Israel, and Levites and their courses, for the service of God, which is at Jerusalem, which is written in the book of Moses. What was written in the book of Moses? This is the dedication. What was written in the book of Moses? Was Hanukkah written in the book of Moses? No. Trumpets was written in the book of Moses. That's what was written there. Nothing about Hanukkah was written in the book of Moses. This feast that they're talking about after the completion of the building, this dedication, this Feast of Dedication is not Hanukkah, as it is written in the book of Moses. This is trumpets. They're talking about trumpets. Let's keep going. Oh, my goodness. Feast of Dedication. Also, at the time Solomon kept the feast 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great congregation, from the entering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt. And in the 8th day they made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days. The dedication of the altar. This is what Joshua was telling us. I think this is why Solomon, the wisest person on the planet. I know I had comments, he's not that smart because he felt, yeah, sometimes people get too smart for their own good. I'm telling you right now, that you see it in comments all day long. Sometimes people are just too smart for their own good. They're not willing to learn anything new. They're going to hold on to what they thought they knew 20 years ago. This new idea right here, they're going to cancel it the second they hear it. But some people, and this information is being released now, and it's not just me. A lot of us are coming up with some really interesting facts. These last days are producing some really interesting facts. Also, at that same time, and again, I want to thank Brett from God's End Down Under. My team, of course, this started at 10:45 at night. My team was asleep, so I engaged Brett. And then in the morning, Kevin Spinebreaker talked to Pastor Jimmy, my adopted pastor, and he said, it's an interesting thought, but I'm not sure, about the whole thing. Obviously, it's something that would need to be studied. So that being said, and it says, from entering into the Hamath River of Egypt, and in the 8th day made a solemn assembly. This is September. I should have wrote it up here. This is September the 24th when Joshua gave us that date. This is October. Let me see. What's the great 8th day? This is October the 8th right here. The great 8th day, October the 8th. And then down here, they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days, September the 24th to Jesus's birthday of September the 30th, and the feast. It's different. Then they keep the feast, Jesus's birthday, September 30th, and it says it right there. It tells us right there. The Feast of Dedication is not Hanukkah. It tells us right there. And on the 23rd day of the 7th month, Hanukkah is in the 9th month in Kislev, 25 for some reason. I can't find it anywhere. I just can't find it anywhere. Jesus was conceived on Hanukkah. No, he wasn't. He was conceived on Christmas Day. I don't know what this Hanukkah thing is. I've been trying to research it. Turns out it's just a Jewish tradition. I can't find it biblically anywhere, but this is in the Bible. This I can find, and this is what the Feast of Dedication is. I think they hijacked the Feast of Dedication and called it Hanukkah because they realized that Jesus was born here. So they changed it. They changed a lot of stuff. They didn't like a lot of stuff about this time Jesus was here because I think a lot of them began to realize this lines up way too perfectly. I think we might have just messed up, and they began to realize September 24th. From September 24th to September the 30th, Jesus' birthday, September 30th to October the 8th, the great eighth day. And in the midst of the feast, Jesus went down October the 3rd. Is that October the 3rd or is October the 4th? Let me take a look. October the 3rd. In the midst of the feast, Jesus was dead for 3.5 days, 84 hours. So, yeah, we're looking at October the 3rd as a mirror date. I'm telling you, this Jesus did not go down on Hanukkah. He went down here halfway through the feast of 7 days, not the dedication, halfway through the feast, but he speaks about, and it was the Feast of Dedication. Why is he speaking about the feast of? He went down there 10 days after it began. 7 days, and then 3 days for him being in the grave for 3.5 days, and then he goes down there in the middle of the feast, October the 3rd. Why does he do that? Why does he say, and it was the Feast of Dedication, I'm not going down there, but then he shows up in the midst. Why does he do that? Because it's a mirror date to the date that Jesus rose. And what happened on the day Jesus rose? Many of the bodies of, and if you read that event, and this is what I'm trying to explain, if you read that event, it looks like one event. Well, yeah, all the bodies rose, but they just laid there alive in those. I don't know about you. I come alive in a grave. I'm jumping up, and by the way, now that I'm alive and I've been dead for God knows how long, 1,000 years, I'm thirsty. I can only live because I'm human. I can only live 3 days without water. After 3 days, hold on, let me get a drink because I'm actually thirsty. Ah, there's some good salvation in that cup. These people were in those graves alive for 3.5 days. After 3 days, they'd be dead again because they die of thirst. They couldn't have been alive. But when God looks at an event, he looks at the whole thing. It's the same issue I run into with Noah going into the ark, sitting in the ark for 7 days, and then it raining. When you read it, God jumps back and forth. Number one, it's to make us think a little bit, just use some common sense. And two, Noah, the door was shut when it began to rain. But God told Noah, in yet 7 days, I will cause it to rain on the earth. There's an extra biblical book that Methuselah said, I don't want to be counted amongst the wicked. Please take my life before. Why didn't Methuselah just get on the ark? Because it wasn't available to him. He had to die. He died the day Noah went into the ark with all the animals. It was going to be a supernatural event. Everything went up in there really fast and easy, I'm guessing. And it's all loaded up, and Noah's sitting in there for 7 days while they're laughing at him with the door open. The Bible's clear. It starts raining, and God shuts the door to protect Noah. The 7th month, people, the Feast of Dedication has nothing to do with Hanukkah. The Feast of Dedication that Jesus was talking about is the Tabernacles, the very center of Tabernacles, October the 3rd, my new high watch day. My new high watch day. 1 Kings 8. Before the Lord our God 7 days and 7 days, even 14 days, and on the 8th day, and this confuses everybody, but it was 7 days of the dedication of the altar, 7 days for the feast, and on the 8th day, so you got to go back 7 days. People are like, do we go forward 7 days from Tabernacles? No, you go back 7 days. What happened 7 days earlier? That's what Joshua brought us. I think that Joshua was waking up planet, because there was people all over the planet looking at this. I can't imagine that it's just a lie from Satan, and Satan's like, "Oops, a bunch of people got saved. Boy, did I mess up." No, that's not what happened. No, though it tarry, wait for it will surely come. Here it's called the. Let me see what was that called? It's not up at the top. Is that's First Kings. This is Leviticus 23. This is explaining the law. The 15th day of the seventh month. Why the 15th day of the seventh month? Because it matches the 15th day of the first month when the Israelites left Egypt. It matches the very night Jesus died on the cross and they put him in the tomb. That began the ball rolling. What happened 3.5 days after the Israelites left Egypt? They crossed over the water. That's what happened. They crossed over the water. What's the mirror event to that? And by the way, I think that's what Will over at Worship and Watch said. Yeah, God had already changed the head of the year in Exodus 12 before that happened. That happened on the 15th, 15 days after God changed the head of the year. So they would have crossed over on on they would have crossed over on the 18th of Nisan. Is that right? Let me see. Hold on. I got to keep my math in my head straight. Hanukkah, and on the 15th, Nisan 15. Okay, on March 31st, which Nisan 15 is when the Jews leave Egypt. The mirror date to that is Tishri 15. Tishri 15 being, yeah, the beginning of Tabernacles. Yep, the day Jesus was born. They crossed over the day Jesus was born. Let me make sure I'm know what I'm Nissan. Tishri 23. Oh, hold on a second. Nissan 15, Tishri 15. This is when the word came to all of us. Oh no. Tishri, this is Jesus' birthday. I'm sorry. Tishri 15, the first day of Tabernacles, is the date that the Jews crossed over into the because no, that's the date they left. I'm sorry. That's the date they left. 3.5 days later would be, yeah, October the 3rd. For us, and the day they crossed over would have been 3.5 days after the 15th, or 3 days. Let me see what that is. The 15th. And that would have been the day Jesus rises on Nisan 18. Sorry about that. Let me repeat all that because even I got confused. The Jews leave Egypt on Nisan 15. 3.5 days later, they cross over. Moses strikes the water. It separates. They walk over on dry land. Remember, dry land. They walk over to the other side. The water shuts down and kills everybody that pursued them. Anybody that pursues or harms Israel whatsoever will be punished. I have a Jewish girl that works at my company, and every now and again, I just walk up to her, poke her, and she's like, "Wow, what was that for?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm just testing to see what happens." She's like, "Testing what?" I said, "Well, the Bible tells me if you bring any harm whatsoever to a Jew, that God will punish you 10 times over." And then the next day I passed that kidney stone I've had in my that tube between my kidneys and my bladder, past the kidney stone. So I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I talk to her about all of this, and I tell her, you're the most loved, right? You're Jewish. God loves you more than the rest of us. It says it right there. You're his beloved people. I said, and she says, well, my boyfriend is Christian, but I'm Jewish. So what can I do? I'm like, believe on Jesus. He's Jewish too. It's not that hard. He's a Jew. He came here. Nobody can deny that. All you have to do is accept his free offer. But anyway, let me keep going. So you see how it's tying to October the 3rd. Oh yeah. That's 10:45 last night. I begin talking with Brett. from God's land down under. I said, what if John 10, and this is where it dawns on me. This is the type of stuff that just hits my brain. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, what if John 10:22, Feast of Dedication, isn't talking about Hanukkah, but the dedication found in 2 Chronicles 7:8, which I showed you. And he says, that's interesting. I'm just having a look. I'm imagining him in his Australian accent saying that because I wouldn't speak like that, but he's Australian. So he does. The very next verse mentions Solomon. I wonder if there is a connection between Solomon's porch, because yes, he sees that it does say Solomon's porch. We're talking about the Solomon's porch. The rededication of that temple in 26 AD happened on Tabernacles. It did not happen on Hanukkah. Let me see what else I have here. So, as you know, Sister Sandy built the timeline, and you can find it on her website. She put her website. She did. Come on, Sister Sandy. Always put your website down here. Endtime-studies.com. Endtime-studies.com. Everything she puts on there is free. A lot of us have timelines on there. I'm no different. It's her website, and she does an amazing job helping us. So I want to give her props for that. I said that Jesus' birthday is on September the 30th. I thought that would be the rapture. It is the beginning of Tabernacles. Jesus is born on the first day of Tabernacles. And on the 8th day, the great 8th day, Jesus is named and circumcised. But in the midst of the feast, which is 7 days long, the midst of the feast, 3.5 days or 84 hours, Jesus shows up. He shows up on October the 3rd. On October the 3rd, this still works with the two witnesses because it begins timeline number 4 right here. I gave them, I thought perhaps the rapture was going to be here on timeline number, let me think. Am I right about that? Yeah, yes. I thought the rapture would be here, and then the two witnesses would have 3.5 days to rent an apartment, get something to eat, maybe go out and to a nice restaurant and kick back, or maybe even rent a car because it's really busy over there without a car. But who knows if they need a car? But I thought perhaps. But now that we've passed, or we're on it right now, September 30th. But now that in Israel it's already October the 1st. Now that we've passed, the next High Watch Day is here, October the 3rd. This is the midst of the Feast of Tabernacles. Jesus went down on Tabernacles, not on Hanukkah. 84 hours is exactly the midst of the feast. And then on October 7th, October the 8th, because of the Shemini Atzeret, because of the minutes that are out each day, it's actually October the 8th. But Shemini Atzeret, on that day, October the 7th, is the day Jesus was named and circumcised. That's the day that Israel was attacked in 2023. We're right at it. We are right at this time. 84 hours earlier is October the 3rd, right in the midst of the feast. Jesus did not go down on Hanukkah. He went down on Tabernacles. In the midst of Tabernacles, he didn't show up at the beginning of Tabernacles because the mirror event was he died on a cross. And in the midst of the feast is the time that Jesus rose, and many of the bodies of the saints rose with him. And could this be the day that many of us rise on October the 3rd? What time? I don't know. I couldn't even begin to tell you. I don't know if it's late at night, October the 3rd, if it's in the morning. I have no idea. Those 4 minutes a day are confusing. Everything else is confusing. Everyone jumping to, and yeah, October the 7th is on there. October the 7th is a high watch day for people who are using the Julian calendar. I will always continue to remind you that the calendar, the Gregorian calendar of right now, the one that I'm showing you, is the one that Jesus was on 2,000 years ago. But the Julian calendar went wrong over the course of the last 2,000 years by 13 days. They simply fixed it in 1582 by creating the Gregorian calendar, which is based on the Julian calendar from the time Jesus was walking the earth. The Gregorian calendar matches currently the Julian calendar of the time Jesus was walking the earth. People are saying, I think we should use the Julian calendar because that's what Jesus was on. We're on the Julian calendar. That's what the Gregorian calendar is. It is a fix for the Julian calendar. If you continue to use the Julian calendar, you're going to be off by 13 days, and you might come in and add 13 days to trumpets and call September or October the 7th trumpets. You might make that mistake, but think about it. It's wrong. The calendar is wrong. It became obvious that it was off. It was pretty close, but it was off. They were adding too many minutes to every fourth year. You can Google it. Anybody can find this information out. But the current Gregorian calendar matches day for day. I mean, day for day to the Julian calendar that Jesus was on. What kills me is they're so prideful that they had to rename it the Gregorian calendar rather than saying still the Julian calendar. We're just fixing it because they miscalculated leap year every year for 4 years, and over the course of time it went wrong. So this is still the Julian calendar. I wish they had done that, but pride, mankind's pride, will not allow such a thing because they have to change everything in order to get credit for what they do. So that's why we're on a calendar called Gregorian, but you are actually on the Julian calendar of Jesus' time. I cannot stress that enough. Quick reiteration before I get off of here. And again, I did not want to make this video. I did not want to tell you that the Feast of Dedication is not Hanukkah. And I did not want to tell you that Jesus did not go down in the midst of the Feast of Hanukkah. He went down in the midst of the Feast of Tabernacles. I don't know what good it does at this point or why I had to figure this out now. Why was I led to see this now? I don't understand. I don't, does it really help anyone to know? I guess you're learning this about 84 hours before, or I did anyway, 84 hours before I think the rapture might occur on October the 3rd. Tishri 18, I want to show you this real quick. Tishri 18, but here we are. I made the video anyway, and I do with it what you will. But Nisan 18 is the day Jesus rose. The time is only off by an hour, so we can use April 3rd. Nisan 18 is April 3rd. It is a Sunday. It's always a Sunday. It never stops being a Sunday, the day Jesus rose. Therefore, if Nisan 18 is a Sunday when Jesus rose, April 3rd is always a Sunday. It never, ever changes. Every single day on here never changes. You can't use the Gregorian or the Julian, for that matter, for your days of the week because they recognize a solar day. They ignored what the Bible said about who's Joshua's long day. There's Joshua again. Joshua's long day. If they would have done this down here, if they would have simply done this down here. Where are we at? Down here. On March 15th and March 16th, if the March 15th and March 16th had been the same day, if they had done this down here and said Joshua's long day, we're going to have a Wednesday, because it is a Sabbath of time. We're going to have a Wednesday, 2 days, once every year. And there, that will fix everything. And we would be on the correct day every single day of the week. And again, it's not nefarious. They're simply trying to keep solar noon. Nothing nefarious about it. But if they had done that and recognized that back then, we would have always known that Jesus rose on a Sunday. He can't rise on any other day. The Bible tells us he rose on the first day. The first day is always Nisan 18. The first day is always April the 3rd. You can't change it. There's no changing it. Wednesday is the day Jesus went to the cross. There's no changing it. Nisan 14 is when he went to the cross. The Bible tells us so. That's March 30th. Come back here. Thursday is Rosh Hashanah. It's always Rosh Hashanah. Nisan 1 is always a Thursday. Tishri 1 is always a Thursday. It is the 5th day of creation. This is not September the 11th. It can't be, because if this changes, everything after this changes. Trumpets. If this is if this Tishri 1 is the first day of creation, number one, it lands on a Thursday. The first day of creation must land on a Sunday. Sunday is the day Jesus rose. September the 11th is not the day Jesus was born. He is not sharing his birthday with Lucifer. Lucifer was created on this day. Go read Genesis. That's the light. He created Lucifer and all of the angels on September the 11th. It was a Sunday. It was the first day of the week. He rested on the 7th day of the week. This is a Saturday. Therefore, Tishri 1 must fall on September the 15th, and it must be a Thursday. All right. Let me go over this real quick. Joshua comes out and says the rapture will happen on September the 24th. He says it is Tishri 1. He says it is trumpets. He is wrong. The reason I perked up my ears was because he said September the 24th. It is Yom Kippur. Tishri 10, 12 hours out, it's technically September the 25th, but it is Yom Kippur when he says that. 7 days later, Jesus is born on September the 30th, Tishri 15. Because of these 13 hours off, we have to jump to the next day. So Tishri 15 is actually September the 30th. Remember, I added this day in, but I couldn't put it here because then I mess with creation. I could have put it, and I should have put it right here, because then if I had put September the 24th and it also being September the 25th, then September the 26th, the day equalized, would have been the Revelation 12 sign, because it would have been the same day if I would have taken a day from here. I think that's actually, or right here, I think that's actually the day, Joshua's long day. I believe it actually falls on September the 23rd, 24th, this both being the same day, and then everything would slide back and it would fix. I had always had a problem with March 15th, 16th, because Lazarus was dead for 4 days and he got sick back here. They sent messages, took 2 days to get there, but then I had this extra day. I just put it there because I never knew where to put it until, quite frankly, until Joshua came out. Then I started looking at all of this, and I said, the Revelation 12 sign is right here. Why is the Revelation 12 sign a day off from the day that's equalized of September the 26th? Why is this happening? And then I realized September 23rd and 24th should be the same day. So Joshua was not wrong, but it was Yom Kippur. It was the Day of Atonement. It was not trumpets. And then 7 days later, this is where, again, this is where that 7 days of Solomon began. It began on Yom Kippur. It began when Jesus began his ministry. It began when Jesus ended his 40-day fast. It began right here. And 7 days later, this is the dedication of the altar, and this is Tabernacles. This is the dedication of the feast dedication. And it began on Jesus's birthday. It ran for 7 whole days. And on the 8th day, October 7th, October the 8th, that's why I'll never know the day and the hour. I just will never know, because I have this 13 hours and 40 minutes to deal with, and I have this extra day to deal with. And if I would have put it there, this would have been October the 8th. And then this would have been October the 7th. I don't know. I know that Israel was attacked on this day in 2023, and we're coming up on it really quick. And this is the day that Jesus was, again, this is the day that Jesus was named and circumcised. So there you have it. That was my big reveal. I tore the Band-Aid off as slowly as I could. Jesus did not go down on the Feast of Dedication that is called Hanukkah. He went down on the Feast of Dedication that is called the Day of Atonement on September the 24th. And Solomon kept that feast for 7 days. And Jesus did not go to the feast itself, the actual feast, which began on his birthday, because he died on March the 30th. He died on Tishri 15. He died on Nisan 14. And then at night, they put him in the tube. The Jews left Egypt on Nisan 15, the mirror date, Tishri 15. And 3.5 days later, after Jesus would have been in the grave, he would have died on his 6-month out mirror birthday. He was on this earth for exactly 33.5 years to the very day. He was born on Tabernacles, and to the very day from Tabernacles, 3.5 years later, he died on the cross on March 30th. Or back here, sorry. On March 30th, it's off. Remember, March 17th and September 15th, it appears to be off by 2 days, but it's not. It's because the Gregorian calendar adds days to months. I don't even know why they do it. January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Every knuckle is a 31. Everyone in the center is a 30 or a 28 for February. January, February, March, April. That's how you count your months, and you know which month has 31 days in it. My dad taught me that when I was 5. All right. So again, Jesus is born on September the 30th. It mirrors Jesus on the cross, and then, of course, on the cross, October. He rises on Nisan 18. Now the Hebrew calendar does mirror perfectly. This one does not. It can't, because they just don't abide by any rules. February is 28 days. Why didn't you just make February 29 days instead of messing around with March 31 days, so that Jesus dies on March 30th, and April Fool's Day, Nisan 15, it would have been perfect, but that's where Satan got involved. The extra day should have been here, but at any rate, Tishri 18, which is actually October the 3rd, Jesus goes down to that feast of dedication. He misses out on the dedication of the altar. They just finished this thing. It took them 46 years. They just finished it. They're going to replicate what Solomon did 500 years earlier, and they did. They only did it. I don't see it biblically. I only see it mathematically, that, in fact, Jesus told them he wasn't going down. He went down 10.5 days later. On the day he rose, and what did he do when he got there? He went straight to the temple. What is going to happen with us on October the 3rd? That's the day I think the rapture will occur. And where are we at? Right here. I think the rapture will occur here, and it'll be Tishri 18, the day 6 months out from the day Jesus rises. And Jesus rises on a Sunday. This is a Sunday. And so that's my video. I hope I didn't go too fast. I hope that I explained it well. Bottom line, Jesus did not go to a festival called Hanukkah. He went to a festival called Tabernacles. And that's what the Band-Aid is. And it has been taught the other way for 2,000 years. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit. And I showed you that by the time we get to here, Kislev 24, by the time we get to Kislev 24, we see both the barley and the wheat has been gathered, yes, but the rest of it that grows on a vine or out of the ground, the grapes, they aren't. They are still there on this date. What happens? What happens 30 days or 60 days after Tishri 19? Or actually, even though the rapture's here, we still take it to Tishri 24, which is October the 8th, because we're going halfway through this festival, just like Jesus did. Tishri 24, what happens? 60 days later, Kislev 24, Hanukkah. It's exactly to the day, 60 days later. October, November, December, 60 days. Well, October is to November to December. Ironically, Heshvan 24 is when the woman is clean after 40 days after giving birth to a male child. And we saw this. I don't recall what year it was. Actually, I can tell you what year it was. Hold on. I can tell you on this old dinosaur timeline that needs to be revamped. But we saw a blood moon. Where is it at? There it is. A blood moon made white by passing Uranus. Jesus would have been born the night of September the 29th, September the 30th, exactly 40 days later. On November the 8th, we saw that. And if you go back to November the 8th, it doesn't tell me what year, though. I don't know what year that was. Was that, I don't even know, 2020, maybe 2019? I don't recall how many years ago this was. But you will see 2021, it might have been 2022. But if you'll go to November the 8th, you will see it's amazing. You see the blood moon. And as it eclipses, or there's another word for it, where it just kind of passes in front of it. And it's absolutely, I've never seen anything like it. The blood moon turns white. You can go into Stellarium right now and look at it. November the 8th. I don't recall what year, but November the 8th, as the moon is crossing over Uranus, the blood moon, exactly as it crosses over Uranus. Uranus means heaven. Does it mean, or does Neptune mean? Neptune means water. Uranus, I believe, means heaven. As it's crossing over, it goes from blood red to white. It's really incredible. And it does happen here on November the 8th. And it does happen exactly 40 days after Jesus's birth. This timeline has proven itself to me personally time and time again. Oh, she went in and put plus 13 hours. So September 29th plus 13 hours would be the September the 30th. She put the hours on here. That's kind of cool. Kind of cool. All right. Let me get off here. I know I've gone on long enough. Comment sections. Be nice. I know I know that I still have people that make dumb comments that Jesus was born in the spring like the lambs, and I hate to say it like that, but that's 101. That's literally Bible 101, and you can't get past that. I don't, and I'm not trying to be mean to you, but please wake up. Jesus was here for 33 and a half years. He died on the cross in March. Count back 6 months. It's September. Come on. Like, I still get those comments. I probably get a lot more because Spinebreaker comes in here and fixes everything. But at any rate, that's where we're at. I'm looking at October the 3rd. It is a mirror date to the day Jesus rises. It is a Sunday on a static timeline. I don't even know what October the 3rd is. What is October the 3rd for us on the Gregorian? Julian. Matches the Julian perfectly. It's a Friday. It's actually a Friday. So one might say that Friday at night would become the Sabbath for the Julian calendar, because this is the Julian calendar. This is accurate right here to the Julian calendar of Jesus' time. This is 101 stuff. All right. We will chat with you all again later. Once again, all of these timelines are completely free of charge. You don't have to pay a dime. Has nothing to do with me. Sister Sandy, www.endtime-studies.com, has graciously helped out a lot of watchmen and put these calendars and timelines together in one website. And if she's quick too. If she sees anybody's stuff, she'll contact one of us. Say, can I put that on my website? Because she's building the website. So, all right. Go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody except the Lord into your heart. You are out of time. You are out of time. You are totally out of time. And I say, believe, and somebody's like, that doesn't save you. Believe in your heart. You're kidding me, right? What did Philip say to the eunuch sitting? Do you believe what you read? Do you accept it in your heart? Then let's go get baptized by water if you'd like. Doesn't save you. You already did that. by believing. You already did that by taking this cup and drinking from it. Like Brett says, from God's not done on earth, the only thing you can do is offer Jesus an empty cup. He offers you a cup of salvation. Drink it down. One sip will save you. But I don't know anybody who has accepted the Lord wouldn't drink every drop of that down and hand him back an empty cup. Every bride looking forward to being with their groom when offered that cup probably splash it all over themselves, drinking it down because they are so eager to marry that groom, so eager. And they take that cup and they drink it down. They don't take the cup, and I'll drink that in a minute. They don't act indifferent or unexcited. They can't wait to be offered that cup. I don't know if you've ever met an actual bride, but when I was marrying my wife, she was standing at the altar, or I was standing at the altar, but when her father brought her up, she was standing there. Poor thing was trembling. She could barely speak. And I was like, man, my heart was breaking for her because she was so happy to be marrying me. Why? I don't know. I can't figure it out. But she was so excited to marry me that she was like, I literally almost passed out. She was just excited. She was excited to get married. And so I can't imagine any of us being any less excited to seeing Jesus and hearing, well done, good and faithful servant. I can't imagine any single one of us feeling any less than that when we get there, knowing that we don't deserve to be there. We don't deserve to be there. We do not deserve 1 second of heaven in this current state. And the only way is to put on that covering of Jesus Christ. And when you get there, they're going to applaud. They're applauding to your covering. You didn't quit smoking, you didn't quit being bad, you didn't quit cursing, you didn't do anything. That was the Holy Spirit that did it. If you thought quitting all those things helped you in any way, you misunderstood the gospel. You give the credit to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit did all of that for you. There's a lot of things I have zero interest in. Can't believe I ever had interest in it because the Holy Spirit took it from me and I have no interest in it whatsoever. And that is where the credit belongs. And if you when you get to heaven, man, what a moment that'll be. Man, what a moment that'll be. All right. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Oh my goodness. Comment nicely, please. Comment verses that say, you're wrong and here's why. Not, Jesus was born in the spring because that's when lambing season. Don't give me any of that stuff. Let's have an intellectual conversation on this. At least let's have an intellectual conversation on this. All right, YouTube. We will chat with you all. Oh, wait a minute. I have to stop sharing. All right, YouTube. We'll chat with you all again. Who knows? Maybe we go right tonight. I don't know, but we'll see you all on the other side. We will see you all on the other side.